Hi, I'm Jen.
And I'm Jane.
And we're SpielMill.
And we're doing our top 100.
Woo!
Boop, 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 boop. We're doing our top 100.
We like to randomly sing all the time. Our house is fun. So we've already done 100 through 91 and 90 through 81. And so this time we're doing 80 through 71. Numbers are hard. I've seen other people where they do this and they have trouble remembering like which is the decile that you're doing when you are counting backwards. It's tough, but
we're on the top 40, right?
No, we're not top 40. We're top 30. I mean, no, bottom 30.
I know. I'm just being silly.
All right. All right. So without any further ado, let's get started. Would you like to go first?
Sure. My number 80 is a game that is a party game. It is a delightful party game that I enjoy a lot. And its appropriate theme for this time of year is called So Clover.
Yes.
This is designed by Francois Romain. Repost Production is the publisher. And yeah, this is just a really fun party game. You get these cards, you put them in the center of your clover, and then you end up with two words you got to come up with a clue for. And you got to figure that out. So like if you get summer and pond, maybe you pick camp, right? You have a pond near your summer camp, right? So something like that. Or yeah, and then other people have to guess based on the clues that you give around the clover what the combination of cards is, how the clue cards go. And that's pretty cool. It's really a lot more fun than it sounds right there. And but you could just, I know our friends, they just leave it lying around and play it like constantly or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they have it like running in the house. They walk by and they have just a game going all the time, which is such a cool thing to do. Yeah, I really like this. This is a really fun party game. It's sort of the next generation of Just One. I think it's by the same folks, in fact.
I believe so, yeah. It's just part of a series of games, and maybe Fun Facts is also them. I'm not sure.
And it's fun. It's clever. So like with your example, if you had summer and pond and you put camp, but fire might be another clue. Yeah. And so there's those detractors in there that kind of can trick you, and you've got to really think about how you want to place them. And it's just so satisfying when the whole group kind of like reads your mind and figures out what you were trying to tell them. And
each clue card's on a corner and contributes to two clues. So therefore you can use each clue to deduce.
Yep.
So anyway, that's So Clover, my number 80.
Great. Well, my number 80 is a much heavier game. It is not new to the list. It's down 30 from last year, and that is Museum from the sadly now defunct Holy Grail Games. It's a beautiful game with Vincent Dutrait art, designed by Eric Dubas and Oliver Mellison. It's a set collection game, sort of. You've got a museum board and you're kind of traveling around the world to gather artifacts to put in your museum. And as I was doing this, I became acutely aware of the fact that basically you're raiding other countries for their relics, which is not great and as far as theming goes. But it's still a really fun game. We really enjoy it.
Archaeology is really cool. Museums are kind of cool, but they have a sordid history. So
yeah.
And people are trying to improve upon that in modern times. So the theme's troubling in that way, and it's obviously very sad about Holy Grail games.
It is. It really is.
Is it Inside Out games, Out of the Box games? One of those. The one that did Subterra.
Yeah.
They went out of business. They went for bankruptcy.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So there's a few things going on in the industry. Some companies going out of business, and it is what it is. It's part of the pandemic, the financial state of the world.
But if
But it
you,
is sad, and we should, I just wanted to acknowledge that.
yeah, it really is, and that's a lot of people that lost their jobs. And this
Hmm.
is a really good game. I mean, people love this game. They put out a lot of great games, and this is one of them. So if you can get your hands on it, hopefully the rights will be picked up from somebody else, and it will still be available. But you might want to grab a copy if you can get one
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, and I'm not too worried about it. There's a couple games we didn't get because of this.
Yeah.
I'm less worried about that. People's livelihoods were lost and stuff like that. That's
Yep.
and dreams. So those are big losses,
That's
and
way more important than us not getting a game.
yeah, especially since we have probably too many. So that's our
Yeah, so that is my number 80 museum.
nice pick. Nice pick. So my 79, my 80 was also new to the list. So Clover's a pretty new game. My 79 is also new to the list, and this is a super puzzly game. Also from a kind of a series of games, in a way, from Flat Out Games, and it's called Calico. It has a picture of a cat on the cover. That's not a calico. That's how you know it's the right game. And yeah, I mean, the art is from Beth Sobel, who does amazing art. It is a super puzzly, super tight though, like tight to the point of being super tense.
It is.
Gameplay.
It's really tense.
So it's really fun, but it is tight and tense.
Don't let that cute kitten distract you from the fact that this game is tough.
That cat's there as a distractor.
Yeah.
And it's just not fair. It's just a lie. It's just a lie. So anyway, but Calico's really fun. You're basically building a patchwork quilt, and you're trying to make things align.
Yeah, and attract your cats to it. It's such a pretty game too. It's so sweet, but it's a crunchy brain burner of a game for sure.
Yeah, I mean, because the conditions can be tough where you have to get certain patterns on certain sides of certain scoring spaces, and yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah.
So that is my 79, Calico from Flat Out Games. Kevin Russ is the designer.
My 79 is new to the list, and that is Lizard Wizard from Forbidden Games, designed by Glenn Drover, art by Jacoby O'Connor and Annie Stagg. This is an economic game. It's a reskin, I think, Raccoon Tycoon. There's some differences in it. It's not exactly the same game. I think it might be a little crunchier than Raccoon Tycoon.
I think so too.
The theme of Raccoon Tycoon did not appeal to us. We like the animals, but the economic stock trading, tycoon game just wasn't our thing. So we kind of passed on that. We were really excited to get Lizard Wizard, and it did not disappoint. You are recruiting wizards, you are recruiting familiars, you're building towers, you're gathering ingredients like toadstools and foxglove, and then you're researching spells using those ingredients. And it's got this neat track where the value of those ingredients goes up and up and up. And then when you sell it, based on how many you sell, it comes down. So you really kind of want to sell high, buy low. And I really think that's just such a clever, fun mechanism. It adds a lot to the game. And so we love the theme. We love the gameplay. For us, was just it knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, and the Kickstarter version we got, beautiful deluxe components.
Yeah.
So very lovely.
Yeah. Yep. And so that is my number 79, Lizard Wizard.
My next game on my list, also new to my list. My 70s and 80s are mostly new to my list games. It just kind of worked out that way. That seems to be where I drop new to my list games, especially ones that aren't in my top 50 or whatever. This one is a spooky season game. Ooh. And it is, I really like, it's got a nice table presence. It's got a really cool table presence. And it really delivers, and that's called Dead Man's Cabal. And who doesn't like a good cabal? But anyway, it's designer Daniel Newman. And this is from Pandasaurus Games. And I don't know, I just really like it. It's got really great table presence, which is kind of big with me. I really like something that helps me immerse myself in the experience. And the this game does that
It is.
very well.
It is gorgeous. It's got these skulls on it. I think like red, black, gold,
The
and
skulls are
white.
resources too.
Yeah.
They're like different colored skulls, and they determine, based on their position, they determine like actions that you can do. And it's kind of really neat. Who doesn't like wheeling and dealing in skulls?
Yeah, I love it.
Who doesn't? Just checking. Okay, so yeah, anyway. If you're looking for another spooky season game, I mean, you can play this anytime, of course, but it just really fits the Halloween season. So Dead Man's Cabal is my number 78.
Excellent. My number 78 is new to the list, and that is Dice Miner. Yeah, we really like Dice Miner from Atlas Games, designed by Joshua Debanis and Nicola Ristesky. This game, we have the Kickstarter version with the plastic mountain, which, is nice, but it is...
A bit loud.
Yeah, it's a bit loud, yeah. It's just a really fun game where you're rolling a whole bunch of dice and then you're pulling them off the mountain. You can't take something that's sort of on the bottom. You have to take from the top unless you have a special power that lets you do so. And you're just trying to create like runs 1 through 5. And you're trying to, there's some negative dice in there. The fun thing is those negative dice, the dragons and the meteors, can actually be good for you if you have the tools to battle them. And then they're positive points. And so that's really cool. And one of the things I love about this is you draft dice over the course of 3 rounds and you keep them. And so after the round is over, you then re-roll all the dice in your hand, and that's where you start from. And then you're drafting dice to build on that pool that you've just drafted previously and now re-rolled. And so your dragon, which you had a power to beat, could turn into a meteor, and now you've got to figure out how to mitigate the meteor. So we really like this one. We get a lot of play out of it. We're well over 20 plays. I know you played a bunch of it solo too, but this is just a quick, really fun dice drafting game.
Yeah, it's a really easy solo game too, so it's fun. It's really just a lot of fun. We've got a ton of play of it already.
Yeah.
My number 77 is also, for us, is a game we play kind of seasonally, but for this one, it's Oktoberfest. And for Oktoberfest, one of the games we like to break out is Belgian Beers Race. And that probably helps this game, but this game has another thing that I absolutely love, which I've talked about before, and that is traveling through the streets. I don't know. I've loved it since the Chips board game when I was a kid. And I just love it. And you travel by bus, car, or even bicycle in this game. It doesn't usually pay off to travel by bike, if I remember, but are some special abilities you can get that make bike really efficient. And
it sobers you up.
It sobers you up, yeah. It sure does.
And you need that. If you get too drunk, you lose the game.
Yeah, you get in trouble. So, But yeah, you just go from brewery to brewery in Belgium, and you try different beers, and you get credit for the number of beers you tried and the different styles of beers that you tried and stuff like that. You have to pay, fuel costs and time costs to travel from brewery to brewery. And that's where the bicycling becomes a little bit iffy because
it's time
cost. Yeah, it's pretty high. So, but what a cool, fun game. Plus you get to travel around Belgium.
Yeah, and what's really exciting is you can get a lot of the beers here. So you can get those beers and you can drink them while you play the game, which we love to do. It is so much fun. And for some reason, I don't think this made my list. I'm not sure why, but this one of my favorite gaming experiences, playing this at Oktoberfest and drinking Belgian beers that are represented on the game board.
Yeah, we love theme. We like to immerse ourselves in it. And another game where you can do it by buying some Belgian beers, having some nice Belgian glasses, getting the full experience going.
Maybe some pretzels, Yeah.
So, yeah. Belgian Beers Race is my number 77. Am I on 77?
You are on 77.
All right.
Well, my number 77 is another spooky season game, and that is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the board game. This was, 93 last time, so it's moved up. This is from Gen X Games or Jasco Games, depending on where you get it. Designed by Josh Dirksen, who's also the artist. And this is very similar, and we've discussed this before. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but it's very similar to Horrified in that it's a cooperative game. You each are playing a character and you're fighting big bads and you're traveling around the town to get what you need to fight the big bads. But it's Buffy.
Yeah.
And we love Buffy. Who doesn't love Buffy? And so it's so thematic. You're going to the Bronze, you're going to Sunnydale High, you're fighting Spike. It's just, it's a lot of fun. And I would rather play this any day over Horrified. It's kind of the same feel. I think it's a little heavier and a little longer, but that's okay because it's Buffy.
But it's very similar. It's got a similar track for the evil track and I don't know. That's why we think it's so related.
The board design is similar.
Yeah, it's just weird.
It's really,
it's so
really,
on the nose.
Yeah, it really is. So that's my number 77, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the board game.
All right, my 76 is finally a game that was on my list last time we did this in 2020. And it has dropped 8 spots, but it's still there, still holding its own. We haven't played it in a while. That might be contributing a bit, but we love it. I love this so much. It is one of my favorite word games of all time, and that's Letter Jam. And I just love this game. It's Andre Scoopy. Lots of artists, which I'm not going to list. Check Games is the publisher. And it's just really fun. You Hanabi style, put your letter cards in front of you, facing away from you, and then your letters make up a word, and you have to figure out what word or a word that they make up at the end of the game, and you do that by people giving you clues, but based on words that they make up using the letters around the table. It's really fun. It's hard to describe in a way that does its justice, as we found out. We watched a bunch of things where people were talking about it. Every time we're like, what? That doesn't sound interesting.
I don't get this. I don't understand what's happening.
And then we got it and we're like, oh. Yeah. So total fun. Really love it. Again, that's Letter Jam because you got a jam, you got a letter jam. Anyway, that's my number 76.
Great choice. I do love that game. And it's almost a party game, but it's like one of those weird, nerdy, thinky, quiet party games. Like you're not necessarily cheering. You're all thinking real hard, but you're working together, and it has that sort of feel of a group, like a group activity where you're all really trying to do something together. And there's just some moments in it that are so memorable. So really good. My number 76 is new to the list for us, and that is Ecos, First Continent. By John D. Clare, and I think I forgot that he was the designer of this, and AEG. And this is a tile placement habitat building game. And I remember when this came out, everybody was talking about it having a bingo mechanism, because basically you're pulling, I think, element tiles out of a bag, and that's determining what you can do that round. I don't know. Like, I get why people compare it to bingo, but it never had that feeling to me. It's a kind of crunchy. It's more crunchy than you would think. It's like a 2.3 weight, but it feels a little more crunchy than that. Game where you're really trying to, again, build up that habitat based on what's coming out that turn and the tiles that are out there. And I actually honestly don't remember that much about playing the game. It's been a couple years. This was a early pandemic game for us, but it's John D. Clare, and I just really, really enjoyed playing this game. It was so fun and thematic. It had so much that I love.
Yeah, it's a fun game. It's definitely, it can be quite puzzly. It could be there's some player interaction with the different animals when you place them out and how they interact, and possibly some of the tiles. But it's I don't know, it's fun.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So that's my number 76, Ecos.
Good choice. Okay, my 75 is another one that's new to my list. And this one is one we've played a ton of. I want to say over 150 games total. What? It's The Crew.
Oh, yeah.
That's including both versions. So we've played the original Crew over 100 times. And then we've played, I think, close to 45, 50 at least of the Crew Mission Deep Sea, which is probably the better version of the two. But the Quest for Planet 9 was the original. And, I think it's fine. There's not that big a difference. I think it's more for your advanced play of it the differences. Just because a lot of people like the way the clue cards are distributed better. But it is possibly a little more complex in a way.
I think so.
But so very marginally. But what a great game! This is a cooperative trick-taking game, and it's straightforward trick-taking with suits and the highest number and all that, and you got to follow and everything. It's got a trump suit that's predicated, pre-indicated, predetermined. That's either space rockets or in the deep sea, it's like a submarines, right? And then you're just playing it through. It is designed more for 3+ players, but the 2-player variant is quite excellent. So I really do not frown on 2-player. You just have to be okay setting up the dummy player. That's the only negative, is it takes a little bit of time to set up the 2-player dummy player, Durka.
We've never played it with 3, but I'd be interested to play it with 3 and just see how that works, because when there's another human making decisions, it kind of impacts the balance. Durka is a robot. We use our Doctor Who, Dalek, Yahtzee dice thingy to stand in for the 3rd player.
Yeah, so that's it's a really fun card game. Like we said, we played it like 150 times. We're not bored of it.
I think the first version is really good intro. It's a really good intro.
It's a little simpler in terms of how the clues happen.
Yeah.
So maybe a little. Sometimes some of the combos you get in the second version are just, some of them are impossible.
Some of them are literally impossible.
You end up with some impossible combos, and part of the variation that the clue giving mechanism gives you that sort of impossible scenario, and that's kind of a little bit annoying. But what a great game. The Crew's my 76.
Excellent. So my number 75.
My 75. The Crew is my 75.
There we go. My number 75, I kind of hemmed and hawed over whether or not I was going to put this on my list or keep it on my list. And that is Freedom, the Underground Railroad from Academy Games, designed by Brian Mayer. And, we recently heard Starla and Mick at our Family Plays Games talk about it, and how, it didn't sit well with them because it's a game about escaping from freedom. And the cubes represent people that were slaves escaping from freedom. And I think it's done super respectfully, and it actually, I was doing some research on this beforehand, trying to decide whether or not I was going to keep it on, and they actually did employ some Black historians on in the development of the game. And so I think you can tackle really difficult subjects in board games, and I think that you can do it in a way that shows respect and empathy to the people that are represented, and can actually help students and people and human beings develop that empathy for historical figures and for other people that are having experiences that they don't have.
I think it's better than some. There's a lot of games that cover these periods in history that don't even talk about the Holocaust or slavery. It's like almost like they don't exist. How many games World War II games do you play where you play the Nazis and you don't talk about the Holocaust at all? So there is it's a complicated question, and it's got positive and negatives to it, and I totally understand their perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a valuable perspective, obviously. And, no one's, I don't know what the right answer is.
Yeah, I don't either. But this does give a lot of agency to the people who were really putting it all on the line to escape slavery and escape to freedom. And I think that's just something that's really important in a game like this. And so as a recovering historian of American history, I just really appreciate this game, and I appreciate the the compassion and the agency that it grants the people it's talking about, and the way it teaches this period.
Yeah.
So, and there's a whole
I do too.
There's a whole historical guide, a teacher's guide, included in it, so you can use it in the classroom. And I think I come down on the side of it can be a valuable teaching tool, especially if it's done well. And I think this is done well.
But beware, it may not be for you. And you know, there's certain
absolutely,
it's a troubling history that we have to deal with.
It is,
and it's a hot topic right now when you have states in the U.S. that are trying to erase that history as well. So that's
and erase people
from existence from the history books. So it's really important topic, whether it's difficult to address or not.
Yeah, and like you said, like all of the games about World War II, nobody ever talks about the Holocaust. So just really appreciate a game that actually takes on the reality of, you know, our dark history.
But it's not easy. I mean, making a game about the Holocaust would not be easy.
No, I can't. I don't know.
There are a couple games that take on the resistance to the Nazis. There's a couple solo games, Resist and Maquis, and then there's one coming out, The Orange. We backed on the Kickstarter, The Orange. I don't know, it's about the Dutch resistance. But so those are really cool themes. Yeah. And a nice way to take on the subject.
Yeah. And as a former teacher, learning styles are so different. And it you know, there's a lot of people that really face difficulties and barriers to learning, especially in our traditional academic setting. And so if you can help them learn about things through something like a board game, I think that's really valuable. Yeah.
So it's a tough one. Let us know where you come down on it, because we're interested and we can learn from everyone else. And it's good to have a conversation about these topics. So.
Yep, absolutely. All right. So this is my number 75, Freedom, the Underground Railroad.
All right, after that heavy conversation, we shall return to the discussion of aliens and dice placement with Circadian's First Light as my 74.
What? Crossover!
What?
It's my 74 too!
Yeah! Woo! So this is a really crafty dice placement game, and we were just watching a video where someone mentioned it.
Brother Smurf, yeah.
Yeah, and it is such a good game. And I like that there has cultural elements for the aliens that are in the board game. And you know, when it comes to space games, I'm less interested in the spaceship battles in space with the black and stars. It's just, I don't know, it's less interesting to me. But these that delve into like what's going on the surface of a planet, those are very interesting to me. And that's what this game does. And it does it quite well. So
yeah,
the art's controversial. Some people like the art, some people don't.
Yeah.
I like it, but you know.
Yeah, it's a mechanically solid game. You're using dice as your workers and you're placing those around the board. But again, what really sells this to me is the theme is that you are not going in to invade the planet, but you are visiting and researching. And so you actually have to get on peaceably with the people there. And if you don't, you are not going to win the game. And so there's this negotiation board and you're doing research and collecting resources. And I really love that approach. You know, again, going back to the game we just talked about, I just like that approach. It doesn't all have to be about like blasting things out of the sky and, you know, and destruction. This is just a really great game about intercultural relationships and, you know, respect for other beings. And it's mechanically a solid game. It's really fun. So yeah, Circadian.
This is from Sam McDonald, well known for his role in the Architects or the West Kingdom games and the South Tigris games and Garfield games.
Yep. And the artist is actually Shem Phillips' brother, Sam Phillips, I believe.
Oh, okay. Didn't make sense, but didn't realize that. So cool. All right. That's our 74. So why don't we jump ahead to my 73?
Let's do it.
Okay, well, my 73, what the heck is it? Now I don't know.
Is it going to be another crossover? I'm kind of excited.
My 73 is potentially a crossover. We both played it. It is new to the list because we just played it this past year. It is a heavy Feldian game called Trajan. This is a really cool game. It has an action system that's based on a mandala, where you move your cubes around a mandala, and it's really cool. But it's got a few things going on. It's got a cool timing mechanism where, depending on how many players in your action, I forget what kind of token it is, but a token moves around on a circular track, and the more it moves around, the closer you get to the end of the round.
It's a Senate track, I think, or something.
Senate track or something, yeah. So whatever she just said is right.
Actually, it's not, but it's okay. I will be talking about this much later. I really love this game. The rondelle in this game or the mandala is, it's a puzzle that just breaks my brain, and I really love that. Because you've got
breaks it to the point where I give up at times.
Because you basically, you move your cubes from one spot to another, and you drop one in each section as you go, and wherever you end, that's the action you're going to do. So if like you want to do something 3 spaces away, you're trying to get 3 cubes in the right section, and man, it's
tricksy, and
it's really tricksy.
It's really fun. It's definitely a very clever design from Stefan Feld, and you know, what can I say? We need to play more of it. We only played it twice.
Feldfest.
We are playing it again for Feldfest, which is coming. Feldfest is coming.
Feldfest. All right, we're in a weird mood today.
Yeah, so that is my 73. Trajan.
Awesome. My number 73 is probably going to be on your list somewhere. It is new to the list, I believe, and that is Hexplore It. So forget about everything I said about compassion and empathy for other people. We're going to kill some baddies. Hexplore It is a giant sprawling adventure and exploring game. It's like dungeon crawler-esque, where you're, traveling around Hex, this big Hex map that you create. You're going from city to city.
So good.
Sanctuary to sanctuary. You're creating characters, and so you could be like like an orc ranger, or an elf.
This would be a good 10x10 game or something.
Yeah, it would.
Extended play.
And then there's also the Dead King, who is also traveling around the board, and wherever he goes, he destroys the city. So whatever you needed from that city, you better get it before he goes there. And you need those things to build up your powers so that you can take on the Dead King in the ultimate boss battle and destroy him. And so this is just what I love about this, is it combines a couple of different genres that we love, that exploring, that adventure, that gathering things to make yourself stronger, and checking out new lands, and who knows what's going to be at that sanctuary. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? As well as, then fighting that bad guy. So this is just a really epic game. And that is, I didn't say anything about Kat Kimidori. That's who I was wondering if she's a female designer.
I believe so. I think there's multiple designers, right?
Nathan Luce and Kat Kimidori are the 2 names I have written down, but there might be more.
And there's four versions of the game, so and they're all similar. But one of the things that's great about this game, did you mention this, that there's unlimited character? Like, when you create your character, you get there's like 30 different classes and like 30 different races, and you can mix and match the classes and races and different traits. I didn't, but yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. I'm sorry, I zoned out for half a sec because I was distracted by something on the shelves.
It was a game. So. Yeah, no, I mean, that was sort of my orc ranger. But again, like you said, you can pick any one of the classes and the races, and you can combine them. So there's just this huge replayability in this game, huge variation. Epic story. We have multiple versions. Yeah, we should put this on a 10x10 because we got a lot to play. Yeah, this would be a fantastic one to just dig deep on. All right, my number 72 is a game, and I just looked at it and forgot what it is already, and it is, surprise to me, it's Detective Modern Crime board game. Woo! I love playing mystery games, and this one is one
sold it by 72, and I was like, how is it not higher? It is a little long. I do like it, though. I like the length because part of the length is solving the crime. The crimes are pretty deep, and there's a lot going on. You get a lot of clues. We put up a whole murder board.
Yeah.
With strings going back and forth. And
God, talk about an immersive game. We played through this with our friend Mel, and it was one of my top gaming experiences ever.
So fun. So, yeah, I mean, what can we say? It's a longer game. Like Chronicles of Crime is a quicker game, but I actually prefer this one. I think, to me, it's more immersive because of some of the manual things you were doing, and I don't know. The crimes are a little bit deeper, I think, but maybe that's just the ones we played. So
well, and there's this story arc to it. So you have your first case, which just seems kind of like a simple case, but it ends up having deep roots that go back to something in history. I won't tell you what, but and then you follow that through the entire case. It's just really well put together.
5 cases, and they're all linked as one case as well.
Yeah.
So it's so neat, that backstory.
It really is. It really is. It's just...
What an experience. Anyway, my number 72 is Detective, a modern crime board game.
Awesome. Well, my number 72 went up 2 from last time. It was 74, and it's a crossover with you on this list. Dead Man's Cabal.
Oh, yeah.
Spooky season.
All right.
Beautiful game, as Jane said. Incredible table presence. You've got this whole big cryptorum you've built. There's an ossuary where you keep your bones. I mean, one of the things I really like
Where do you keep your bones?
I mean, I assume the ossuary. Where else would you do it? The premise is you're
Say
throwing
down
a party. Yeah, put in the comments. Where do you keep your bones?
And we won't turn you into the police.
What was I going to say? Oh yeah, you're throwing a party in the afterlife. And so the art is great. It's clever. It's fun, but it's just also, again, mechanically a solid game with tons of presence. One of the things I love is the action selection. When it's your turn, there's a private action and a public action. So everybody gets to go every turn, which is something I love in games because there's just no downtime. And it's based on, you pull a skull out of the bag, like you were saying, and you put it on the board, and based on what the majority color is, that becomes the public action. And so you can take a private action that nobody else can take, but then everybody gets an action. And I think that just, makes the game zippy, keeps it moving along. And it is a game with just so much table presence. How can you go wrong playing this in spooky season with skulls and bones all over the table?
Yep.
So, as you said, that's from Daniel Newman, Pandasaurus Games. And that is my number 72.
Excellent choice, obviously, since it was my 77, I think. Some in that ballpark anyway. Okay, my 71 is a game. I really want to play this game. I'm a little worried that I can't because of my chronic illness. It's a little bit on the edge of what I can do. But I really want to play it again because it's so neat. It's a little bit math heavy, though, and that's Founders of Gloomhaven. What's that look?
Nothing.
Anyway, Founders of Gloomhaven was my number 70 last time we did this, so it dropped 1 spot.
All right.
So that's pretty good. No, it's pretty consistent. It just hung out there, and it's a pretty cool game. It's obviously it's nothing like Gloomhaven. It's got some of the characters, some of the species of beings and whatnot in there. The Inox and whatnot, and the different races, and it's got, it's based on the same world, so it's the same world, but it's like kind of like cartographers versus role player, totally different game. But this is more like I don't know, it's like it's so complex. It's
Spreadsheet
so complex.
I've heard it called.
It's called Spreadsheet the Game. It's really complicated how you calculate points and costs because it's all based on what it's connected to, and you know, where your resources are and all that stuff. So you can use other players' resources, but I can't get into it too deep because I can't even remember
I do. I love it.
how it scores that well because it's so complicated.
It's one of my favorite scoring mechanisms in any game ever. And I know it's complicated, but basically, you know, let's say you mine ore, right?
Mhm.
And then you turn that into metal, and then you turn that metal into something, and then you turn that metal into something else, right? When you build that last final product, everybody that built the process along the way participates in the scoring because they helped you get there, right? It makes sense. It's like when you buy a finished product, when you buy a board game, you know, everybody from the designer through the manufacturers, the people that made the paper, the people that made the game, like everybody had a part of that.
Oh, it totally makes sense. There's
Love
no
it.
questioning it making sense. It's just for a game, it's really involved
It
scoring.
is really involved scoring,
So,
but I love it. I love it so much.
It's just a bit probably
Mathy.
on the edge of what I can do right now with my brain. My brain has cognitive limitations, which it hits, and one of the things it hits on is anything super complex.
Yeah.
Like we played Tawantinsuyu. The first game of Tawantinsuyu was really, really hard on my brain. My brain just was like, but after I learned it, I was fine. So maybe it'd be one of those situations. The math in this, I'm really good at math, so that is less of an issue.
I mean,
and I believe we did get an organizer. So the Polyanimos, because setup can take a while, but I think we have the organizers. You can just pull out the Polyanimos now. So that would help.
I do want to say the caveat that we can't play this if you can't score, because I don't score it. That's probably one of the reasons why I like it
Well,
so
I could
much.
probably
is I
score
just turned
'cause
you
the
and said,
math.
Jane.
You know, the math I can do, but I can do math. And one of the things they tested me when I was being tested for disability was they kept asking me math questions, and of course I was like 712. It was hurting my head to do it, but I could do it.
Yeah.
Like,
don't ask Jane math as a measure of her disability.
That's not really. You're not judging anything. You're just judging whether I'm good at math. So anyway, that is my 71 founders of Gloomhaven.
Well, that's an excellent choice. My number 71 is down 35 from last time, but it will always be in the top 100. In some ways, for me, this is like a top 10 game. It just isn't. I don't know if that makes any sense. Carcassonne.
Okay.
Like Carcassonne is just one of the best games. It's one of my favorite games. I will play it anytime, any day.
It's a tough one to place in the list, I think.
It is because there are so many other games that I enjoy more, I guess, but this is like, it's like bread of life.
Yeah, it's a classic, and it's provided hours and hours and hours of gaming, and it's not that long, and individual game's not that long, but we've played so many games of Carcassonne.
Yeah.
Going back to before we started logging games, so I don't know how many games I've played of Carcassonne.
No idea. And I put on Winter Edition just because...
it's so pretty.
It's so pretty. You gave it to me. That was one of the first games I owned. You gave it to me. And I think I probably like the city better, but this is just going to sit in for all the Carcassonnes. And it is designed by Klaus-Jürgen Red and published by Hans M. Gluck. And that's the thing, there's a bunch of variations too. So you can, you can mix it up a little bit. You can kind of do the one with the ships or the city building with the walls, which is super cool.
I'm super excited for the new cooperative one with the ghosts.
Me too.
The fog
me
and the
too.
ghosts. So.
That might actually move it up the list. So yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my number 71. I don't, like you said, it's a weird, I don't know how to place it because it's a classic and it's just an evergreen in the collection, but that is Carcassonne.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So we are done with our 80 to 71.
We are indeed.
Oh, very good.
With 2 crossovers.
Yeah, that was exciting. We had a same number crossover. It doesn't happen too often. And a good game too, Circadians. I really look forward to playing that again. We could do a Garfield Fest.
We could do a Garfield Fest.
Anyway, yeah, so that's it. We're going to see you next time. And in the meantime, remember, every day that you game
is a holiday.
Bye.
Bye.